From a throwing standpoint, again, the key is to learn to keep tension in the back hip while keeping the trunk and the torso relaxed, which allows the hips to work underneath the torso and allows that separation to occur. I actually prefer, from purely a separation standpoint, I prefer a version of a lasso where you actually get a little bit of a lift on the front foot so you can find some load, and then you can just work on relaxing down into landing. And again, not forcing, but it should just feel like that relaxation is able to happen, and then you can slingshot everything through and get that big pull into release. It can also be helpful to add band tension to try to pull your hips open. It can be really helpful to add to really any of these drills, because what happens is you're having to resist that band pulling you open, pulling you open, pulling you open, and then you can relax and let the band take your hips just into landing while the upper half stays back. So that band is essentially going to pop the hips through on its own. It's really going to help with the feel of being able to feel that relaxation happen, feel that separation happen without really having to think about it. So that's the most regressed kind of isolated way to feel separation that I found. And from there, you can start to integrate that feeling into the rest of your throws. The pivot pickoffs are great for just generally being able to feel a little bit of an exaggerated stretch through that anterior oblique sling, through those oblique abdominals, because you're blocking that front foot forward. It's blocking the hips a little bit more forward as you counter rotate. So this is still going to help you feel a relatively big stretch, but most of that stretch is coming from the upper half counter rotating as opposed to the lower half rotating. So it's not that specific, but I think as we incorporate it then into the 10 toes, then into a stagger 10 toes, you start to feel how these different movements connect together. So open up the feet to a regular 10 toes throw, find the back hip, unload the hips, and try to feel as smooth and as fluid as you can as you unwind that rotation up the chain. Now we're going to open up that stance, stagger the stance slightly, and same thing. Find the back hip, unload the hips into landing, relax the low back, and feel that torso effortlessly pulled into ball release. Feel the arm float through along for the ride. For the rocker throw, you can do your preferred version of a rocker throw, but we're just going to close off our stance, and now it's much more similar to how we're actually going to be throwing in our standard delivery. Alternating these can be one way to help them transfer together, and making sure that we're still working on that general theme of being able to relax the hips, being able to cleanly dissociate the hips from the torso. Anything with a little bit more of a counter rotation focus can help pitchers initially learn how to get the hips to rotate ahead of the torso. General pickoffs can be helpful, and not necessarily done in the way that you would do if you're trying to pick off to first base and be as quick as possible, but more so just starting counter rotated to the target and just having to feel hips go first, torso stay back. Because we're in that counter rotated position, it's very difficult for everything to rotate at once. Your body's going to want to be able to find a little bit of dissociation between the two, just because you're already started in such a counter-rotated position. A rotational step back is another way to feel it, because again, we're starting from a more open position here, and now we have to really counter-rotate as we step back. So rotational step back, we're stepping back into our leg lift, then we're lifting, then we're going. That's another way to really start biasing a little bit more counter-rotation, which then you have to feel how to get out of that counter-rotation position, and that separation can start to self-organize from that constraint as well. And then this is typically done as more of a kind of output type drill, but drop steps. And so drop steps are essentially like another way to do a shuffle throw or a crow hop type throw. But again, just biasing you starting already in a counter-rotated position, gain momentum towards the target. And because you're already in that counter-rotated position, it can again be easier to feel the hips get ahead of the torso. That separation should occur pretty organically without having to force it, and then the arm is